The mall buzzed with life, a symphony of chatter, clinking coins, and rustling bags. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air, silencing the bustling crowd. All eyes turned to witness an unexpected encounter that would challenge perceptions. Melania Trump, the enigmatic former First Lady, stood frozen, face to face with a stranger. Known for her poised public image, something in her expression hinted at a hidden depth. The air crackled with tension as onlookers held their breath, sensing a moment that would leave everyone speechless and reveal a side of Melania they'd never seen before. The mall, a microcosm of American society, hummed with activity. Melania Trump glided through, her presence magnetic yet isolating. Secret Service agents flanked her, ever vigilant. Her designer outfit stood in stark contrast to the casual attire of the shoppers around her. Then, a piercing wail cut through the noise. A young woman struggled with a crying toddler, and the crowd instinctively parted, creating a clearing between Melania and the mother. Phones were raised as onlookers watched, captivated. Melania's carefully maintained facade softened. She took a step forward, her face showing unexpected warmth. The air seemed to thrum with anticipation as she approached. No one could have predicted what would happen next. The crowd held its collective breath as Melania Trump moved closer to the distraught mother and her wailing child. Her designer heels clicked softly on the polished mall floor, each step breaking the invisible barrier that separated her from the everyday chaos of American life. Melania extended her hand, not in greeting, but toward the crying child. The young mother's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and wariness crossing her face. She instinctively tightened her grip on her toddler, unsure of what to expect from this unexpected encounter. The Secret Service agents shifted uneasily, their training at odds with the unfolding scene. They exchanged quick glances, hands hovering near their concealed weapons, ready to intervene at the slightest sign of danger. But Melania seemed oblivious to their concern, her focus entirely on the distressed pair before her. "May I?" Melania's voice, soft yet clear, carried a hint of her accent as she addressed the child. The words hung in the air, bridging the gap between two worlds that rarely intersected. The young mother, her own accent thick with nerves, nodded hesitantly. With a gentleness that surprised everyone, Melania reached out and smoothed the child's hair. Her touch was light, almost maternal, and the effect was immediate. The crying subsided, replaced by curious hiccups and wide-eyed wonder. The toddler, momentarily forgetting their tantrum, stared up at the elegant stranger who had entered their world. Onlookers pressed closer, phones capturing the surreal moment. The air buzzed with whispered commentary and the soft clicks of camera shutters. But in the eye of this storm of attention, Melania remained focused on the child and mother before her. "I remember days like this," Melania said, her voice carrying just far enough for those nearby to hear. "Being new here, everything's so different. It's not easy, is it?" The young mother's shoulders relaxed, her grip on her child loosening slightly as she shook her head in agreement. A murmur rippled through the crowd, a mix of disbelief and admiration. Here was Melania Trump, known for her reserved public persona, openly acknowledging her own immigrant experience and connecting with another mother over shared struggles. It was a side of her that few had seen, a glimpse behind the carefully crafted image of a former First Lady. As the tension dissipated, a new energy filled the air. Phones lowered, and faces softened as people watched the interaction unfold. The mall, which moments ago had been a stage for potential conflict, now felt like a space where unexpected connections could flourish. The mall's usual noise faded as Melania and Maria talked. Maria's voice trembled, her accent unfamiliar. "It's been so hard," she whispered. "Sometimes I wonder if we made the right choice coming here." Melania listened, her own immigrant experiences surfacing. She shared a story of her early days in America. "I remember feeling lost, wondering if I'd ever belong." Maria nodded, recognizing their shared struggle. Lucas, calm in his mother's arms, looked between them curiously. As they talked, barriers crumbled. Melania spoke of raising a child in the public eye, while Maria shared her fears for Lucas in a sometimes unwelcoming country. "But our love for our children connects us all," Melania said. The mall seemed to fade away, leaving only this moment of connection. Onlookers watched, many seeing Melania as a fellow mother and immigrant for the first time. As they parted, Melania squeezed Maria's hand. "Don't give up. Your struggles matter. You're building a better future for Lucas." A woman from the crowd offered Maria support, and others followed. The mall transformed into a space of community and connection. Melania watched, recognizing the power of simple kindness. As she left, she gave Maria a final encouraging nod. Both women had been changed by this unexpected encounter. As Maria and Lucas approached the mall entrance, the warm glow of sunset painting the Cleveland skyline, a group of teenagers caught her attention. They huddled near the doors, their animated voices carrying on the evening air. Maria couldn't help but slow her pace, curiosity piqued by their palpable enthusiasm. "We could start a podcast," a girl with bright blue hair suggested, her eyes alight with possibility. "Or maybe a YouTube channel," another chimed in, fingers flying over his phone screen. Their energy was infectious, reminding Maria of the spark she'd seen in Melania's eyes during their fateful encounter. As she drew closer, Maria overheard snippets of their conversation. Words like community and bridge building floated toward her, stirring something in her chest. These young minds were planning something, but what? And how could their ideas build upon the unexpected connection that had already changed so many lives in Cleveland? Maria's grip on Lucas's hand tightened slightly as she hesitated. Should she approach them? Before she could decide, one of the teens, a lanky boy with kind eyes, noticed her and smiled. "Hi there. We're brainstorming ideas for a school project. Want to hear about it?" His openness caught Maria off guard. Just a year ago, she might have shied away, feeling out of place. But now, bolstered by months of unexpected connections, she found herself nodding. "I'd love to," she replied, her accent softened by practice but still present. The teenagers' faces lit up. They explained their assignment, to create a project that would bring different communities together. Inspired by the story of Melania and Maria's mall encounter, which had become something of a local legend, they wanted to take it further. "We're thinking of creating an app," the blue-haired girl explained excitedly. "Something that connects immigrant families with longtime residents for cultural exchanges, language practice, or just friendship." Maria's eyes widened. It was as if these young minds had tapped into the very essence of what had made the Bridge Builders program so successful. But they were taking it a step further, using technology to expand its reach. That's wonderful," Maria said, her voice thick with emotion. She found herself sharing her own story, watching as the teens listened with rapt attention. Their eyes sparkled with the realization that they were speaking to someone who had lived the very experience they hoped to facilitate. As the conversation flowed, Maria felt a familiar warmth spreading through her chest. It was the same feeling she'd experienced that day with Melania, the day everything changed. But this time, it was tinged with something new, hope for the future. These teenagers, with their boundless energy and innovative ideas, represented the next wave of change. They weren't content to simply hear about acts of kindness. They wanted to create systems to make them happen more often. In their enthusiasm, Maria saw the potential for lasting transformation. The air in the mall seemed to shift, charged with a newfound sense of connection. As Maria listened to the teenagers' excited chatter about their app idea, she felt a familiar warmth spreading through her chest. It was the same feeling she'd experienced during her encounter with Melania Trump, but this time, it was tinged with something more, a spark of possibility for the future. Around them, the crowd that had gathered to witness the unlikely interaction between the former First Lady and the young immigrant mother began to disperse. But something had changed. People moved slower, their eyes softer, glancing at one another with newfound curiosity. A child tugged on her mother's sleeve, asking in a loud whisper, "Mommy, why was that lady helping the other lady?" The mother paused, her brow furrowed in reflection as she searched for the right words to explain the profound moment of human connection they had just witnessed. An elderly man stood off to the side, wiping a tear from his eye. His weathered hands trembled slightly as memories of his own immigrant past surfaced. He caught Maria's gaze and nodded, a silent acknowledgement of shared experiences transcending generations. The Secret Service agents, who had initially tensed at the unexpected encounter, now stood more at ease. Their watchful eyes swept the area, but their postures had relaxed, recognizing the positive turn of events. One agent even allowed a small smile to cross his face as he observed the ripple effect of kindness spreading through the mall. As the teenagers continued to brainstorm features for their app, Maria found herself drawn into their enthusiasm. She offered suggestions based on her own experiences, watching with pride as they scribbled notes and built upon her ideas. The blue-haired girl's eyes sparkled as she described how the app could match immigrant families with longtime residents for cultural exchanges and friendship. Maria glanced around the mall, now transformed from a place of commerce to one of community. Small groups had formed, strangers engaging in conversations that would have seemed unlikely just an hour before. A young couple was helping an elderly woman with her heavy shopping bags, while two men from visibly different backgrounds exchanged contact information, planning to meet for coffee. The realization hit Maria. Kindness wasn't just a chance occurrence. It could be cultivated, nurtured, and even engineered. The mall encounter between her and Melania had been spontaneous, but these teenagers were planning to create a system that could replicate that connection on a larger scale. It was a perfect blend of serendipity and design, and Maria felt her heart swell with hope for Cleveland's future. As the sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting long shadows through the mall's skylights, Maria looked at the eager faces of the teenagers around her. She saw in them the potential for lasting change, a generation ready to bridge divides and create connections where none existed before. Their energy was infectious, and Maria found herself wondering how many other young minds across Cleveland, across the country, were dreaming up ways to unite people. The golden light of sunset painted the mall in warm hues, transforming the bustling space into a canvas of long shadows and soft glows. As Maria stood surrounded by the enthusiastic teenagers, their voices filled with hope and determination, she felt a shift in the air. It was as if the mall itself held its breath, waiting for what would unfold next. Melania Trump, who had been quietly observing the interaction between Maria and the young innovators, stepped forward. Her eyes, usually guarded in public appearances, now shimmered with an unexpected vulnerability. "May I share something with you?" she asked, her voice soft but clear. The teenagers fell silent, their eyes wide with surprise and curiosity. Maria nodded, sensing that something profound was about to unfold. Even the Secret Service agents seemed to lean in, their usual stoic expressions softening. Melania took a deep breath, her fingers unconsciously tracing the outline of a locket around her neck. "When I first came to America," she began, "I felt so alone. Everything was different. The language, the customs, even the simplest things like grocery shopping felt overwhelming." As she spoke, her accent became more pronounced, as if the memories had transported her back to those early days. "I remember standing in a supermarket, staring at rows of cereal boxes, feeling completely lost. A kind woman noticed my confusion and offered to help. She didn't just show me where things were, she invited me to her home for dinner that weekend." The mall seemed to grow quieter with each word, as if everyone present was holding their breath. Maria's eyes glistened with tears, recognizing her own experiences in Melania's words. The teenagers listened intently, their phones forgotten in their hands. "That dinner changed everything for me," Melania continued. "It wasn't just about the food. It was about feeling welcome, about having someone take the time to listen to my story and share their own. It made me feel like I could belong here, like I had a friend in this new world." As she spoke, Melania's usually composed demeanor softened, revealing a vulnerability rarely seen in public. Her words painted a vivid picture of struggle and perseverance, of small kindnesses that could change the course of a life. Maria nodded, tears forming as she recognized her own experiences in Melania's words. Around them, the crowd grew still, absorbed in the unfolding narrative. Even Lucas, sensing the emotional weight of the moment, reached out to touch Melania's hand. As Melania's story concluded, a new understanding seemed to settle over the gathered crowd. The air hummed with a sense of shared humanity, of bridges being built across divides that had once seemed insurmountable. One of the teenagers, her eyes bright with inspiration, spoke up. "Mrs. Trump, your story. It's exactly why we want to create this app. We want to make those connections easier, to help people find their own welcoming dinners." Melania smiled, a genuine warmth radiating from her. "And that," she said, "is how real change happens. Not through grand gestures, but through small acts of kindness, multiplied across a community." The air in the mall vibrated with newfound energy, a palpable shift that everyone present could feel. Melania's words hung in the air, a challenge and an inspiration. The teenagers, their eyes bright with purpose, huddled together, fingers flying over their screens as ideas flowed. Maria watched, thinking back to her lonely days as a new immigrant. How a simple app like the one these teens envisioned could have changed everything. The possibility of connection, of finding a friend in a strange new world, all at the touch of a button. As Maria observed the teens' enthusiasm, a question nagged at her. Could an app truly capture the essence of human connection? Could it replicate the warmth of Melania's welcoming dinner, or the unexpected kindness of a stranger? Melania, sensing the weight of the moment, spoke again. "Technology is a tool," she said, her accent more pronounced in her earnestness. But it's the human heart that gives it meaning. Your app can open doors, but it's up to people to walk through them. A quiet boy looked up from his phone. What if we built in challenges, small acts of kindness that users could complete together in person? Maria imagined the app suggesting local events, organizing language exchange meetups, or prompting users to share a meal with someone from a different culture. It was more than just a digital platform. It was a bridge between the virtual and physical worlds. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the mall's skylights, Maria realized that something extraordinary had happened. In this unlikely place, among strangers from all walks of life, a seed had been planted. A seed of understanding, of empathy, of the power of human connection to transform lives and communities. The encounter between Melania Trump and Maria rippled through Cleveland and beyond. A year later, Maria's homeless shelter thrived, supported by unexpected allies. Melania championed compassion in her public appearances, citing that day as a turning point. The teenager's app connected thousands, bridging divides one conversation at a time. In the mall where it all began, a mural now stood, two hands, different in color and texture, reaching across a gap. Beneath it, a plaque read, "Kindness knows no borders." As visitors paused to reflect, a question lingered. What unexpected connection could you make today that might change a life?